Police in the US city of Detroit have arrested the parents of a teenager accused of killing 4 fellow students. Officers found the couple hiding in a commercial building. South African scientists say the new Omicron COVID variant may spread more than twice as quickly as the Delta one. The analysis hasn't been peer-reviewed yet, and the researchers say there is a lot of uncertainty about it. Votes are being cast in the first presidential poll in the Gambia since the former leader, Yahya Jammeh, fled 4 years ago. The current president, Adama Barrow, is running for a second term. Pope Francis has warned that democracy is in retreat across much of the world in the face of authoritarian and populist movements. Speaking in Athens, he said parts of Europe had fallen prey to nationalist self-interest.
We start with the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. Authorities in Norway are grappling with an outbreak of the new Omicron variant. They say more than a dozen people who attended an office Christmas party have been infected with the strain. Earlier this week, health authorities reported that more than 50 people at the party had tested positive for the virus and 1 had Omicron. They've since confirmed an additional 12 cases of the variant. Reuters and other media outlets say everyone at the party was fully vaccinated. They say no one had tested positive before the event. Reports also say that the 13 people infected with the variant only have mild symptoms. Authorities suspect the party may have served as an Omicron super spreader event. They expect to find that the number of partygoers infected with the strain is actually higher. A suspected cluster infection has also been reported in South Korea after 3 new cases were confirmed on Saturday. South Korean media say the 3 attended an event at a church in a suburb of Seoul last weekend. Health authorities are testing more than 700 other people who were also at the event. As countries around the world scramble to contain the spread of the Omicron variant, Japan has updated its own quarantine measures. The government had been asking returning Japanese nationals and foreigners with resident status to quarantine in designated facilities after arrival, but there are concerns about a possible shortage of such facilities. Now the government is calling on fully vaccinated people returning from Omicron-free places to self-isolate for 14 days. All Nippon Airways and Japan Airlines began accepting reservations on Saturday for Japanese nationals and other permitted arrivals. This comes after the Transport Ministry earlier this week canceled its request that all airlines stop taking new bookings to Japan. The government has capped the number of arrivals at about 3,500 per day. Airlines are now allowed to accept bookings up to that limit. A Japanese researcher says the Omicron variant of the coronavirus likely mutated from a strain that differs from the Alpha or Delta variants. A research team has been analyzing the genetic data of the coronavirus reported around the world. The team is being led by Kosaki Kenjiro. He is a professor at the Keio University School of Medicine. Kosaki says he cannot determine the geographical origin of the Omicron variant, but he says it is likely to be a location where genome analysis has not been fully conducted. Kosaki noted multiple mutations point to a strain that is different from the Alpha or Delta variants.
The origin of the Omicron is still unknown, as there are data that indicate the variant had already been spreading in Europe. There's no doubt the variant is spreading mostly in South Africa. I suppose the Omicron strain has gradually accumulated its changes somewhere in the world.
Kosaki says Omicron differs from other variants in a number of ways. He says further analysis is needed to determine whether the Omicron variant can cause severe symptoms. Japan's health ministry says the Moderna and Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines could cause heart-related side effects in younger males. They say they've found incidences of inflammation in the cardiac muscle and the outer lining of the heart. The ministry says as of November 14th, just over 80 of every million males aged 10 to 19 who received the Moderna vaccine had reported such side effects. For men in their 20s, the figure was just over 48 in a million. The numbers for the Pfizer shot were lower at just over 15 and 13 respectively. The health ministry held a meeting with a panel of experts on Saturday. They agreed to add warnings to documents attached to the vaccines. And hospitals will have to report any incidents of people developing such symptoms within 28 days of being vaccinated. As U.S. President Joe Biden prepares to host dozens of world leaders in a summit for democracy next week, one prominent country not on the guest list is touting its democratic values. China's government released a white paper Saturday titled China, Democracy That Works. It was unveiled by the State Council Information Office, which works to improve China's international image.
China's democracy is a high-quality democracy that has promoted the development of the country and social progress and achieved the happiness of the people.
The paper says China did not duplicate Western models of democracy, but created its own. The paper also says whether a country is democratic should be judged by its people, not dictated by a handful of outsiders.
The United States considers itself the leader of democracy, but in reality has suppressed other countries with different social systems and development models under the name of democracy.
The Biden administration is scheduled to hold the two-day online summit for democracy starting Thursday. It has invited leaders from about 110 countries and regions. And as China's government hails its democratic values, it's also looking to address what it sees as security risks in the gambling mecca, Macau. Beijing's top officials there are set to begin advising the leaders of the territory on national security. The state-run Xinhua news agency reported Friday that 4 officials from Beijing's liaison office in Macau, including its director, will take up new posts on Macau's Committee for Safeguarding National Security. A new National Security Affairs advisor will reportedly supervise and guide the Macau government. A similar post was established in Hong Kong when the national security law for the territory was enacted in June 2020. Like Hong Kong, Macau is a semi-autonomous territory under the One Country, Two Systems framework. But pro-democracy members of the Legislative Assembly lost their seats in September's election. They were banned from running after being deemed disloyal. Now to sports, and an emotional farewell from one of Japanese baseball's greats. Pitcher Matsuzaka Daisuke wrapped up his 23-year career with an event at the ballpark where it all began. The star bid sayonara to his fans at the home ground of the Saitama Seibu Lions. Matsuzaka played 8 seasons for the Lions before making the switch to the major leagues. He announced his retirement in July.
応援していただいている方に喜んでもらいたいと思い頑張ってきました。前へ進むために背中を押していただき本当にありがとうございました。
The event closed with a surprise appearance by former Major League hitter Suzuki Ichiro, who handed his one-time rival a bouquet of flowers. Matsuzaka faced Ichiro many times in Japan and the U.S. Together, they led Japan's national team to back-to-back World Baseball Classic titles in 2006 and 2009.
お疲れ様でしたということと、長い間よく頑張ったね。はい。その言葉を聞いた瞬間に一気に 涙が出ましたね。これまでやってきてよかったなと改めて思いました。
Matsuzaka made his debut in 1999 and racked up 170 wins, 114 in Japan and 56 in the major leagues. Those were the stories for this hour.